What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good Wolf Project. I'm your host, Jerry Scarlato, and today's conversation is with Catherin Gairard. Catherin is an artist and a dancer and a musician, and we don't talk about really any of those things. Instead, we go down a bunch of different paths. We talk a little bit about her love of nutrition and how she got into that. We do talk a little bit about dance and how she's getting into dance and getting into exercise so that she can become a better dancer. She's also getting into composing music for screenplays. So we have a very wide-ranging conversation about a whole lot of different things. Ranges from, like I said, nutrition to becoming your best self, to overcoming challenges and obstacles, to everywhere in between. So enjoy this conversation with Catherin Gairard. All right, Miss Catherin, great to have you on Good Wolf Project. Thank you so much for joining me today. So what's your week been like so far? Start off with a little light conversation.
Hey, how are you doing? Thank you
Good.
so much for having me.
Yeah.
My week has been really great, doing a lot of exercise, a lot of music as well, the usual.
The usual exercise and music. We'll get into the music later, definitely. I'm curious about the exercise though. So, how long have you been in the habit of exercising?
I always love to dance. So really, what is exercise like for the sake of it or going to the gym and things like that? I was never that kind of person. I always hated exercise, to be honest. I would be rather lazy, but I love dancing and I love aerial dancing, and you need a lot of strength for that type of dance.
Mhm.
So it was like I either stay the same and I'm not able to do all the things that I wish I could do in aerial dancing, or I do the effort and then I can do them, right? So I decided to start the gym really 3 weeks ago, like seriously. Like
Mhm.
I have been in the gym before, but this time I got myself like a personal trainer in the gym, and I asked him to be like a military with me because I normally detest being in the gym. It's boring for me to be counting like repetitions,
Mm.
etc. But he's like surveying me if I am resting a little bit too much. He's like, I'm seeing you. So I've seen progress thanks to that, and I'm getting stronger for the things I want to do, and I'm seeing progress. And for the aerials, I started pole dance in 2014, but I was like doing it and then stopping and then coming back again and then
Mm.
stopping for a long time again. So in the end, is I am still like intermediate level, but now I'm more serious, and I am going to classes like 3 times a week. Um, and yeah, working hard to get to my goals there.
Well, you have a lot of creative talents, which, like I said, we'll get to in a little bit. And it sounds like that's just one you just didn't get to stick quite yet. And you're finally getting to the point where you're getting it a regular part of your routine, which I
Yeah.
completely understand. I've played guitar since I was in the sixth grade, played piano before that, probably since third grade, played the violin right around the same time. I haven't picked up a violin though. That probably doesn't count because I think I played it for like 2 years. But um, guitar is a perfect example of that. So like I played since sixth grade, but by no means am I what that's 25 years. By no means am I 25 years have 25 years worth of experience because there were years at a time where I didn't pick up a guitar, right? And when you
Yeah.
don't pick it up, certainly you lose a bit of that you picked up over time and you picked up a long time ago. And it takes
Mhm.
consistency in order for you to do that. So what do you think what was it this time that you're like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm consistent at this? Is it something that you're looking to become a little more professional in? Is it something that you just want to add to your repertoire? Is it something that you just enjoy so much that you want to be able to do it real well? What is it?
It really was for health because when the older you get, there is a point where you start losing muscle, and and then it's a problem because then you get older and older, and that's why old people, they can have like a very light fall and they break a
Mm.
bone very easy because they have their muscles are weak and they can protect them, and it's very dangerous. So I wanted to have exercise in my life for health reasons, for staying fit, for having energy, for all the things I want to do. Also, I work a lot with my image, so I have to be in good shape. um and since I detest like the gym, I say, but I love dancing, and dancing is a sport, especially aerial. So I just will rely on that, on something that as a goal, a personal goal for me, to have something that I actually love and that I am motivated by, to go to the gym, and I am there, and when I am like super tired, I am doing the repetitions and I imagining like the figures that I want to do, like my
Mm.
inversion, the Titanic, and just
Uh,
picture
that's
that
good.
in my head. Yeah, and it's more for that.
Mm.
But who knows in the future if there is an opportunity for me to dance somewhere or something, why not? But then I have to be prepared for those opportunities, even though it's not like my primary thing I'm looking for. It's just for keep active. And also I combine that with intermittent fasting and reducing carbs a lot, so to eat healthier, and I am feeling like I have more energy overall, except the days where my personal trainer decides to increase the weight. Then it's
You're like,
harder.
come on, man, what are you doing to me?
Yeah, but I'm seeing results. Like I'm already noticing that I am like my body's changing
Mhm.
and I'm getting stronger, and I see my muscles growing a little bit. After 3 weeks, it's not like you can have a crazy change, but
But you'll
it's
notice
it's
something. Yeah.
yeah, you notice something, and that's very interesting. And also in class, I notice how I am less tired and I do certain things that I couldn't do before. I'm
In
starting,
dance class.
yeah, in pole dance class,
Mm.
I am seeing results as well. And like basically recovering all the things that I was already getting done before stopping for thousand time. Yeah, so in general, I see more energy. My sleep cycle also has been regulated. Yeah, it
Mm.
has come to a normal, because sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night and then feel so tired in the morning, and then not being able to sleep in the night, etc.
Mm.
So with those changes alone, my sleep cycle has become normal. I still sleep like between 8 to 9 hours, but I read that for a woman, that's okay. Like women
That's normal.
apparently, yeah,
Mhm.
more sleep than men.
Yep.
But yeah, I feel more focused, definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, without all those carbs.
Without all the carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, especially the wrong kinds of carbs. You can load up pretty easily on the fast absorbing ones, the sugars and all that nonsense, and that'll definitely make your energy just boom plummet and you get brain fog and all that nonsense, and that's not a good feeling.
Yeah, exactly. The only carbs that I am keeping though, because I don't believe in not eating carbs at
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
After all, you need glucose for your energy. So I keep the fruits. I love them. And there's many fruits that are actually low, how you say, glycemic.
Glycemic.
Um,
Yep, you
yeah.
got it. Mhm.
That it doesn't shoot your blood levels, your sugar levels in blood so high. And even when you pick those fruits that do have that effect, if you take them right after sports or before sports, it's fine because you need them at that moment. But
Mhm.
all that is like industrial foods,
Mhm.
pizza, all those socially acceptable
Mm.
foods like bread, rice only with sushi because I love that. I don't tell me
Yeah.
to quit that, but like really from time to time. Um, and for the rest, and lentils are fine
Mm.
too. But for example, potatoes, I don't know what to do with them because when they are steamed, the glucemia is super
Mm.
high, like 96, and I am very surprised, like, wow. I don't know if, like, they are
Mhm.
super healthy,
Mhm.
that's what everyone says, but then they really get your sugar in blood really high. So I don't know, do you eat potatoes
I do.
or
So here's a little kind of a trick with potatoes. So potatoes, when you warm them up, they become, like you said, they're more easily digestible, so they'll spike your blood sugar. But if
okay,
they start to cool down, if they start to cool
okay,
down, they build this thing called resistant starch. And
okay.
resistant starch is basically a type of fiber that your body digests slowly, which everybody knows we need fiber, right?
Mm-hmm.
So resistant starch is actually a type of fiber that your body digests slowly and is really good for your gut microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of the trick is to warm it up, get it hot, and then let it cool down just a little bit. And that's not going to completely dampen down that blood sugar spike, but it'll bring it down enough, and then it'll build up some of that resistant starch in the potato, so that you're
Mm-hmm.
getting a little bit of both. But to be totally
Oh,
honest, the rule that I like, and by the way, for someone who's only been exercising for 3 weeks, you know an awful lot about nutrition. I'm assuming.
I I am such a nerd for nutrition.
Are you?
I've been
Okay.
obsessed. Yeah, because all my life I struggled with being underweight. So
Hmm.
not overweight, but
Hmm.
underweight, which is also a problem, especially when you are from Peru, where they value like big women with big breasts and
Voluptuous. Hmm.
everything. Yeah, and
Hmm.
so all the children were very chubby, and I was the only one super thin like
Then,
that. So
yeah.
everyone, yeah, they were always making fun of me, etc. So at the beginning, it was actually my mom who was more obsessed about that, and I was just living my life. And then at some point, I kind of took my mom's place in that sense, where I was starting to be obsessed myself.
Hmm.
And so in my search for what was healthy, what was a healthy diet, I read so many things, from paleo diet, vegan diet, Anthony Williams protocols, and then a book called We Want to Live by Janos Wonderplan.
Never heard of that one.
Uh, it's based on the Dr. Price research on the
Hmm.
tribes and how
Hmm.
they their traditional diets. So it's completely opposite to Anthony Williams, who is celery juice and
Hmm.
fruits and vegetables, and also Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon, old book as well.
Hmm.
Um, and I read everything that I just could get my hands on to try to understand, because
Hmm.
some people will be like, eggs are bad, others eggs are good, etc. And so in the end, I realized that okay, I have to have like my own philosophy about this and try things, keep what works, and discard what doesn't. And that's how I'm. But in general, I would say that the philosophy I feel the most related to, or the one that makes more sense to me, is definitely the Nourishing Traditions one.
Hmm.
Trying to eat like supernatural bone broth and those types of things, mm,
Yeah.
fermented foods, etc.
Yes, fermented foods definitely one of the things that everybody should have in there. They are one of the top most nourishing things. Honestly, so the irony of that is I can't have bone broth, I can't have fermented foods, I can't have anything aged like that because I have a thing called histamine intolerance. And
Oh,
when you have a if you've heard of it, when you age a food, it develops histamine in the food.
okay.
And the histamines my body doesn't process effectively. It just takes a lot
Mm,
longer for me to do it. So, like, if you get a runny nose or something like that because you go outside and you're allergic, that's
mhm.
histamines causing that to happen, right?
Yeah,
The
it's an
same,
overreaction of the body.
got it. The same thing happens when I have too many high histamine foods, like tomatoes.
Mhm.
I'm Italian and I can't eat tomato sauce regularly.
Oh,
Yeah, right. A lot of irony in that. I'll have it whenever mom makes like spaghetti and meatballs or lasagna. Like I'll go ahead and sacrifice in those instances. But
but also like supermarket tomato sauce makes you sick,
mm,
or also like homemade tomato
both,
sauce,
both.
Oh no.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm
Oh,
saying. And even tomatoes,
oh
like
wow.
tomatoes can't have tomatoes, can't have a whole lot of citrus fruits. So like there's certain whole foods that I can't eat because they have higher levels of histamine in them, or
Okay.
they'll create histamine in my body.
Okay.
So that's an interesting one because if they create histamine, it takes about 48 to 72 hours for you to start to see an effect. And
Mm,
it's hard to make that connection, right? If you had something on Monday and then you have a reaction on Wednesday,
mm-hmm.
it's really hard to make that connection. But
Yeah.
anyway, to go back to your bone broth idea, it's one of the most effective things that anybody can have. And I hate the fact that I can't have. It's one of those things that,
Oh.
and that's why I know about the potato thing, because I want my microbiome to be healthy. And I
Mm-hmm.
am researching ways on how to do that. And that was one of the things that popped up. If you warm up a potato and then let it cool down, that'll feed your microbiome as well. So that's one of the things that you could potentially do if you're looking to have some potatoes, which potatoes, especially cooked right, sweet potato, white potato, any kind of potato is on point.
Spanish tortilla. Oh,
Yeah.
although Spanish tortilla, it's actually good because the fat in the egg
Mm,
allows the sugar on the potato to be liberated slower in
slower.
the body.
Hmm.
Hmm. Oh, I can have that for sure.
You're
That's
sitting there dreaming about it.
yeah,
No, I'm
so
good.
good. But this is so bad that you cannot have bone broth. Like, have you tried? There is this powders that is beef bone, but like in a powder. It
Powders I have
doesn't.
not tried. I haven't thought about it, to be honest, but I haven't tried them, no.
Yeah, you can find good powders that is really is the bone that has
Mm,
been made into a powder. So it's
mm,
like pure collagen, and that's the
mm,
only one that is recommended, like that has this bone broth effect. And
mm.
you can put like a couple spoons in a tea, for example, in a herbal tea, green tea, whichever tea you like, and maybe that can help um to get that collagen.
The benefit, yeah. No, that's a good
Mhm.
idea. I'll definitely look into that. So
And also you
go
can
ahead.
have like fish broth if it's not like the head of the fish.
Hmm.
Yeah, the Inuit Eskimos would have uh their children to eat the head of the fish
Hmm.
in like a broth. And you can eat the whole. It sounds weird, but I tried it once, and basically there's all those little bones in the head of a fish have like meat in them, and each bone has like a slightly different taste.
Mm.
It has a lot of vitamins and minerals and nutrients, and they give it to children for their growth, etc.
Mm.
Traditionally, and so you can also do fish broth and also get collagen and omega 6 from that. So that's also an option for
Yeah,
for you that doesn't affect you.
that's that's interesting. I'll have to try that. I don't mind trying to eat a fish head, because I grew up in the South. Well, the South, I'm in America. The South to you means something completely different. I grew up in Louisiana, and in
Okay.
Louisiana they have Cajun food. I don't know if you've been over to the States and you've been in Louisiana. If you ever come over to the
No.
States, go to Louisiana. They have Cajun food. Cajun food it's spicy. It's almost Spanish food, but it's very Spanish like, except I would say it's spicier. But they
Okay.
make a lot of seafood,
Hmm.
and one of their one of their staples is crawfish.
Hmm.
So they'll take pounds and pounds of crawfish and boil them. Just stick them in a big pot, boil them, throw some potatoes in there, throw some corn in there, just boil them up. And then all you do is take the crawfish, tear the tail off, suck the head off the crawfish, and then start
Hmm.
taking the head and like the guts of the head and like pull it out and start to
Mhm.
eat the guts and everything. I'm sure people
Yeah.
listening to this are like, what in the world are they talking about right now?
Yeah,
But
but they're missing like the best. Like you can also do chicken bone broth instead of
mm,
beef bone
mm,
broth. And if you can find still the little feet of the chicken
the
that
feet.
yeah, the
Hmm.
feet, you do a broth, you put that in your broth,
Mm,
and it has lots and lots of collagen. So you can also try the
mm,
chicken and the liver of
mm.
beef
Beef liver,
chicken.
yeah.
It's also
Hmm.
super. Some people are crazy and eat it raw, and I'm not talking
Mm.
about this guy that, well, what was the name of this guy, the paleo king that was super big,
Oh
that
yeah, Liver King. I can't really
yeah,
remain. I can't.
yeah,
I don't know his
this,
real name.
I'm not talking of liver king sense. This like I what I mean is I haven't um known about this habit of eating the liver raw because of
Mm,
him.
mm,
He just used that because it's controversial. But
hmm,
in ancient times, hunters, when they hunted an animal, the first thing they would take and eat raw was the liver,
mm,
because all the nutrients are in the liver. And if you watch like any animal, lions, wolves, etc., they also do the same. They eat the liver first.
mm,
It will all the problem is that it needs to be like organic from farm,
mm,
because if you buy it like in a supermarket or something industrial, all the hormones, all the antibiotics are gonna be in the liver, in the brain, in the heart, and
hmm.
so it's not healthy anymore. So but yeah, it's I love liver. Since I was a child, my dad will do like just 2 seconds in the pan, a
Hmm.
little bit of salt, and
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Uh,
the beef liver. It's so
yeah.
comforting as well. It feels very comforting,
Does it?
but I wouldn't eat it raw. Like I tried.
Yeah. Did you
I tried
try?
one. I did. That's how
Wow.
crazy I am. Like I have to try things and see if they work for me. Otherwise, how can you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I tried, and it is not unedible, but it's just a texture that you either get used to or
Mm,
you don't.
hmm.
And I was like, I prefer it cooked, but you can eat pate.
Pate.
It's
Yeah.
the same. It's pate.
Hmm.
It's liver, but in a made a cream of.
Right.
It's the
Mushed
same.
up or whatever. Hmm.
Exactly, but
Hmm.
it has like some varieties of pate or foie gras. Well, they can have like some spices,
Hmm.
like herbs and things
Herbs and
to
spices. Yeah. Hmm.
exactly, and that also is very good if you don't like liver.
Yeah.
You can eat pate.
Whew. I I did not expect our conversation to go this way, but I love that you're so educated on this. This is so awesome. So is that so you just started educating yourself on nutrition just because you wanted to be able to have a whole food healthy diet and you wanted to be able to know what was good for you. And so you just started diving in and going after it.
Yeah, I wanted to have energy. I
Hmm.
was tired of being tired all the
Hmm.
time and
Hmm.
grumpy and depressed
No,
and
you
sad.
weren't grumpy.
I can be very grumpy when I'm hungry, or
No.
if I eat, yes, if I eat something like for example too many refined carbs
Hmm.
make people grumpy.
Hmm.
And in this book called We Want to Live by Janus Wonder Planets, that was published like in the 90s, so not even I wasn't even there around there when that book was published. He said that one of the problems with a lot of carbs is that it makes you grumpy and sluggish, and then many people have arguments because, and they are not aware that it is because of the food.
Mm,
And then he was like, how many families and couples could have been saved if we only knew that it was not
that
like a
was
real
impacting.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so knowing the effect that food has on us is very important, because for example with depression, many people don't know that depression is just um deficiency, nutritional deficiency. You
Mm-hmm.
are like lacking some vitamins and minerals that allow your body to create dopamine to basically keep the hormones balanced. And when the hormones are not balanced, then you have depression, then you have fat accumulation in specific areas of your body. So each area is a hormone, and and then you start understanding, oh wow, so that means that if I'm doing 100 apps a day and still I have a tummy, but you are eating lots of sugar, so you have an insulin resistance.
Mm,
So no matter how much sport you're doing, if you don't quit on most of your carbs,
mm,
your insulin won't be regulated, and
mm,
therefore you will never lose that fat on your belly,
mm,
things like that.
mm-hmm,
uh, Especially the emotional impact of food
mm-hmm.
on people. That's, I see around me so many people that are sad and depressed, and how do I, how can I explain them that it's, they might be, because people don't like to be told that they don't eat well, even if they
Right.
don't.
And they
So
definitely
some,
don't like to be told that they can't eat what they're eating.
exactly. It's like
Mm-hmm,
it's a very taboo subject. For some
mm-hmm,
reason, people get very defensive when they, and I've known people who eat super bad. Um, and then I was like, at that time, I was experimenting with Anthony Williams protocols. And I was like, I'm doing this detox with celery juice, but I'm not only eating that. I'm having other things. It's just a couple days, you know. It's not like this is gonna be my whole lifestyle. And that person was like, oh no, you're gonna disappear. That's not normal. You have to eat this. But then she was eating McDonald's like
mm,
3 days out of 7. And I was like, I don't know how. And if I try to tell her, don't eat that much McDonald's, is not good. They will be like, don't tell me what to do, blah blah
mm-hmm.
blah. It's just a little caprice from time to time. It's like, but yesterday you also did that yesterday. So it's hard. It's hard to try to make people see like your sadness, your depression, you can solve it if you just change those little habits. But sometimes some people seem to have built an identity around being depressed
Mm,
about X, Y, and Z conditions, and they all the time, no, it's because I have this, or it's because I have that. That's why I can do things better. And when you try to give them the solution, they actually don't want the solution.
mm,
There's a benefit on like a hidden benefit on staying like a victim,
mm.
and with
Victim
that,
mentality.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there are extreme scenarios with people that truly cannot, like,
Always.
so,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm talking about
The, the
like
average.
mild, yes,
Mm-hmm.
the average, exactly. Most people who self-diagnose, you know,
Mm,
as depressed, and maybe it's just it's not that, maybe it's nutrition, or maybe something in your life that is not making you happy that you could change. But
mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting, so where are you? Are you in what country are you in right now?
I would prefer not to disclose that for
Oh, no
now
worries.
because of
Not a
safety
problem.
reasons. Okay,
That's
thank you.
quite all right. I'm going to go ahead and assume it's not in America, but if it is, okay. The only reason that I ask is because it's amazing that you see that in different parts of the world. Now, in America, it's very much, people are very emotionally attached to food. People very much attached to it. You very much see the victim mentality as well. Depression is as high as it's ever been. Anxiety is as high as it's ever been.
Mhm,
So the irony is, I think people, like, everyone wants to be important. And when it comes to depression and anxiety, I feel like people grasp onto that, not
mhm,
always, but they grasp onto it
mhm,
because they can get attention whenever
mhm,
they show the victim side of whatever's going on in their life. If their life isn't going the way they wanted it to, and they are sad about it and they convey that to people, then people go, oh, it's okay, everything's going to be all right. And so they get
Mhm.
attention for it. Human beings want
Yeah.
attention naturally, and they think that they can't get it in a way like creating art or dancing or doing something other than being a victim, other than showing that their life is hard, and then someone else going, oh, you think my life's hard? Let me tell you, you think
Mhm.
your life's hard? Let me tell you about how hard my life is.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a lot. And that's kind of what you're saying is like people grasp onto reasons to show their victim selves because they want
Mhm.
to, it's almost like they just want that attention. They just want
Yeah.
attention, and they think that that's the way to do it.
Yes, and have you seen those memes where they are like, people don't understand depression, like this, everything is gonna be all right thing.
Yeah.
It's like they present it as that's not a solution, right? It's like,
Yeah.
then what do you want us to do? Like we try to help, and even that is makes you feel worse. Like and, you know, but apart from that, like as you said, everyone wants to feel important, and that's a totally natural sentiment, a
Hmm.
totally natural desire
Yeah.
for absolutely any human being in this world without exception wants to feel important, and this longing for for importance, for significance, have created like geniuses, great artists, great people, heroes, and also big criminals and thieves and bad people, and
Hmm.
like Hitler wanted to feel important,
Hmm. Yeah.
and was a great speech person. Like he spoke really well. He was a genius speaking, but as a leader, he did what we know, right?
Hmm.
And it's the same with people like Stalin and Mao, and
Hmm.
all this is both extremes are equally bad, and they both looked for that significance, and so the problem, it seems like what I've seen, I had back in the day, at some point I was teaching English, and I had a student that was a doctor, is a doctor, and she explained to me that she's a pediatrician, and she explained to me that many children came to the hospital with abdominal pain, but that was just functional, so was nothing. But the parents were like super obsessed, like, no, she must have something. Review her again.
Hmm.
And basically, the problem was that those parents, she explained to me, were not giving the due attention to their children.
Hmm.
And so the children learned that suffering, like, oh, I'm having a problem in my stomach, I have
Hmm.
pain, etc., was the only way to get attention
Get
from their
attention.
parents.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. Even if that attention meant a lot of chaos, stress, going to the
Hmm.
hospital, the sentiment of, oh, my parents are defending me because they are insisting to the doctor, no, she must have something, just find out.
Hmm.
And the doctor there, you and she was like, you can't imagine the amount of patience I have to convince the parents that there's nothing wrong with their children.
Hmm.
How do you explain to them it's because they are not giving the due attention they deserve? So many, and then those children grow up, and they find another version of the tummy pain, in
As
depression,
adults. Hmm.
anxiety, the drama, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And that doesn't invalidate what they are feeling. It's
Mm.
just that no matter if you are in that mindset, for example, and I come to me and I'm depressed, I'm sad, etc., no matter what I tell you, at the end of the day, I can't do anything.
Hmm.
Even if I wanted to,
Hmm.
it's impossible, because the only person who can take the decision to do something about it and to decide to not be depressed anymore is you.
Hmm.
So I can support you if I see you making changes, if I see you quitting on bad habits. I can support you on that. and root for you, etc., because that's what true friends do. But I cannot do the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. No one invalidates your situation. The problem is that you when you go to that to get that attention, at some point most people get tired of it, and
Mm-hmm.
so you
Oh
look
yeah.
for someone else and for someone else, and it also prevents you from having meaningful real relationships, because
Mm.
you
You're
are
always
there to.
making it about you.
Yeah, really. And that's what we call a energetic vampire.
Mm.
You're draining the other's energy with this complaining, and it's important for the rest to differentiate what's compassion and empathy from commiseration.
Mm.
Like, I have empathy for you. I know you are sad, but do something about it. Actually, sometimes telling you what you don't want to hear is the most compassionate thing I can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I enter in that commiseration that is like, oh yeah, things are so bad, I can see that you are depressed, and let's depress together.
Right. Yeah. Well, but that's like the parent of a drug addict giving the drug addict money to go buy drugs, right? But we look at
Yeah,
that and we go, well, that's bad. But if a kid comes to a parent and the kid's like, they're constantly in that spiral of feeling bad for themselves, and the parent's always like, oh, yeah, I know, it's just so bad. And you're never actually doing anything to help them spiral back up and pull themselves out of it. You're doing essentially the same thing
yeah, yeah, you're pulling them down,
down.
pushing them even more. Absolutely. So
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know if you know this guy Alex Ormosi. I
Hmm.
guess you know. I like to listen to him sometimes, and he said something very interesting, like about trauma. um that if you had something happening to you in the past that was ugly, you can either say, oh, it's a trauma and that's why my life is a disaster today, and blah, and dwell on that. Or you can say, okay, that happened, shit happens, move
Hmm.
on. And that was a huge realization for me, because I tended to be in the past so much and say,
Hmm.
oh, I suffered bullying, or I had this problem,
Hmm.
and be sad about it. And at some point, I decided, like, fuck, I'm
Yep.
not that person anymore.
Hmm.
Those people are not around me anymore.
Why am I
Bye.
why am I dwelling on it?
Yeah, and,
Mm.
and it was really, you can't believe it's that easy until you
Mm.
experience it. But really, you wake up one day and you feel it inside, like it's over. I'm
Mm.
not dwelling on this anymore. It's like that's how a true decision feels like. And of course, there is situations like it's not the same if you have uh suffered, I don't know, sexual abuse, or
Mm.
you've been kidnapped, or you've been in human traffic,
Mm.
or you saw someone die in a violent way. That's what I call a trauma,
Mm.
like, for
Yeah.
real. And
Yeah.
that's different, like, or being in a war or something, like, truly. But when your trauma is because your dad told to you a little bit harsh because he was
Hmm.
late, and then you did this interpretation of how people reject you.
Mm.
See how is your mind
You made up the
create,
story. Hmm.
yeah, those situations. And that's why therapy is good if you feel like you wanna do that. Because if you realize, oh, it's because my rejection thing is because my dad was a little bit harsh with me, but now I understand that it's because he was late and he was stressed and it has nothing to do
Hmm.
with me.
Hmm.
Bueno,
Hmm.
it's the idea, I think, of therapy is that you let it go.
Yeah.
Not that
Yeah.
keep dwelling and saying, oh,
Hmm.
it's because my dad.
Right. You would certainly hope that that's the idea of therapy, although ironically, the purpose of therapy is to keep people in therapy. So at the same time, it depends on now if you find a good therapist and they're actually going to help you work through things. But
Mhm.
therapy can sometimes be a perpetuating cycle also
Yeah,
because they kind of need to keep you there and they need to keep you, around. But I think to
yeah.
go back to your point, excuse me, it's about attachment, right? So most
Mhm.
people You can say the same thing about emotions. You can say the same thing about feelings. You can say the same thing about food. When you attach to something and you make it either
Mhm.
part of your identity or you make it the reason why you can't do what you want to do or whatever, when you attach to it, that's when it becomes a problem. Emotions are a
Mhm.
perfect example of that.
Yeah.
So many people quit exercise because they say, I don't feel motivated to do it.
Mm.
Motivation is just a feeling. I'm sure
Yes.
there's been times where it's like you go to the gym and it's like sometimes you're like, yeah, I feel like going to the gym. But a lot of times it sounds like you're like, no, don't feel like going to the gym. Like you just,
Today,
yeah,
today was that day. This
yeah,
morning, I was like, no.
yeah.
It was
Nah.
and it was sad because it was like my favorite day, which is back and shoulders.
Hmm.
Because for pole dance, you use those a
A lot of
lot.
holding
So
and pulling. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, and
Yep.
also if you want to do a handspring and things like that,
Mm.
they're super aggressive. And I just couldn't with my soul. Like
Mm.
I thought, what if I don't go today? And then
Mm.
I just dragged myself out.
Mm.
I went there. I said to my personal trainer, I I am a piece of shit today. So
Hmm.
I just came because if I start to not going, it's over for me. It's
Hmm.
all messed up. So I went. I had to do like 15 reps. I just did 10. I had to do 4 series of my set. I just did three of each.
Mm.
But what's important is that I went there.
Hmm.
Where whereas a couple months ago, Catherine would have just not gone to the
Hmm.
gym. So
Hmm.
I'd rather go and be like my poker face and everybody looking at me like, why are you even coming? But
Mm.
still going and do a couple things that not going at all because
Mm.
you are telling your body. I feel like your body and your brain and your stomach are like little children,
Mm.
really, like
Little children.
toddlers.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you are doing intermittent fasting and you
Hmm.
are hungry, your stomach is that little child saying like, "Ah, give me food, I'm gonna die." They freak out like
Yeah.
that, and you, like your higher self, is the adult, keeping them all like in how you call like mm, well behaved and say
Well
no, it's
behaved.
not the
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the time to eat. Now it's
Hmm.
time to do sports. We're gonna eat when the time
When
to
I
eat
tell
comes.
you, it's okay too. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
And when you do that and you are the adult inside yourself, 5 minutes later, 20 minutes later, whatever, there's no hunger anymore.
Hmm.
And then you are there in the gym, you do the things, and it doesn't mean you don't listen to your body, of course, but that's why I say rather do a little bit less than doing nothing. But the thing is that at some point in some like entrepreneurship, influencers, they started with this idea of listen to your body, say no to the hustle culture,
Mm.
etc.
Mm.
Relax, meditate, take time to yourself,
Hmm.
whatever. But they don't contemplate the fact that their hustle phase is over. But someone that is listening to you now and is starting out, they are in the hustle phase. Like this is the building phase. You have to go all in, and then you'll have your meditation whatever phase when you have fuck you money
Mm.
and you can do whatever you want,
Hmm.
or at
Yep.
least you have the life you want.
Hmm.
So the thing is that I realize that the less resistance you give to your body or your mind, the less it will want to do.
Mm.
The more you demand of yourself,
Mm.
the more it kind of like you are it's like you it's like when you lift weights, right?
Hmm.
It's meant to tell your body, oh, we need more muscles, like we need that for our survival because they are still in the jungle, the body, right?
The
And the
body. Yeah.
subconscious.
Yeah.
And so they build more muscle because you are actually using them. So it's the same with your mind and your energy. If you start doing a lot of meaningful things and you demand that from your body, the body will start building more energy for you to get to do
Hmm.
those things. The moment you try to be less, it's gonna do even less than that. Like
Mm-hmm.
this week I was trying, like I noticed every week I start Monday and Tuesday super hard, and then
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday is a bit less, Friday,
Mm-hmm.
Saturday it goes down.
Yeah.
And I said for this week, okay, I'm going to give myself less tasks. Um, and I'll do more tasks on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I put myself less tasks. Well, magically, I was more tired, less focused,
Mm-hmm.
and I still managed to get to a couple tasks like overdue that I
Yeah.
should have done yesterday
Yeah.
and the day before, and and so it doesn't work. It's better to put yourself a little bit more, and then if something was left, you just send it to the next week. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like I noticed that with the bodies, the body is like lazy by nature,
Yeah.
so I don't think it is very healthy to tell people, take it easy.
Mm.
The
Because it's our natural tendency, right? It's our
yeah,
natural tendency to take it easy.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. It's at least our conditioning and our
Mm-hmm.
minds.
Yep.
Like I remember at school one day, I was super worried because I of something related to school, like grades, homework that I had to do, and I was like, I couldn't do it this way. And I had this schoolmate telling me, "Oh, you." How you say, you demand too much of
Mm.
yourself, like take it easy. It's not, I know she meant like relax, it's gonna be all right, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just a homework. I don't even remember right now. So there's some things that is not worth worrying. But I don't think it's healthy to be like, like everybody, the average people, like 90% of people don't demand more of
Of
themselves.
themselves. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's why they get results, average results,
Yep.
instead of excellence. You need to demand that.
Well, and it's because people get so comfortable with their level of effort, right? Here's my level of
Mhm,
effort. Here's where it is. Every once in a while, it kind of bumps up. And then it's like, oh man, that was a lot of effort. And then it comes back down and then it flattens out again. But what you don't
mhm,
realize is that if you take this level of effort and you're like, okay, I'm going to shift it instead of just like bump it a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and just shift it up. And then I'm going to keep
mhm,
it here instead. What you realize is that you can then do this, but so
mhm,
many people are just used to doing this. I'm going to stay,
mhm,
here's my level of effort, and here's where it stays. And again, that's in
mhm,
the gym, that's in business, that's in career, that's in so many areas. They stay in that like mediocre level of effort and they get that mediocre result. And that's just kind of where it stays. And they don't realize that, like, if you just bumped it up and you kept it up, that it
mhm,
would stay up and you'd have the
mhm,
energy to do it. Your body will give it to you if you don't pretend like I have this like lack of energy all the time. Oh, I'm just so tired from sitting around at work all day. Oh, I'm just so tired from doing XYZ. If you tell your body that you have abundant energy, it will give you the energy. It'll literally unleash the energy that you want. It'll literally give it to you because everybody's body has an abundance of energy, like
yeah.
an absolute abundance of energy. That's what we don't realize. So
Mhm,
if you just did it long enough and you're like, okay, I'm going to take my effort and no matter what, I'm going to keep it up here. I'm going to do these tasks. I'm going to do twice as many tasks as I normally do.
mhm,
And I'm going to keep it up here and I'm going to see what happens. And I
mhm,
guarantee you for everybody that your results will triple and that your energy level, you'll not feel more tired. If anything, you'll feel more energetic.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And but then why would you do that effort? That's like the most important question, because
Mm,
if 90% of the people are in jobs they hate,
mm.
why that's also one reason why they do the bare minimum. And
But why do they
but
hate the job is my would be my question.
yes, because then you're taking the fact of hating your job as an excuse for doing the bare
Mm,
minimum. And okay, maybe that job doesn't deserve the bare more than that, even though they are sustaining your life.
mm,
So that's debatable.
mm.
But at least in other areas, while you figure out your professional area, that's when you know when people like want excellency or not, because
mm,
you can be in a shitty job. I've been in a shitty job temporarily because you need to eat until you can do something else, or
mm,
while you are building your true project, etc. But then if you seek excellency, is gonna show in other areas. Like, okay, I cannot be excellent in my current job for now, but I can be excellent in like my fitness or my health, or even my image. How do I look? Do I
mm,
put the things on that really suit me, things like that, like trying to seek excellency and beauty of life in other areas, your relationships, your friendships, social life, etc., until I can do that for my professional life as well.
mm,
So it's lack of goals, lack of purpose,
mm.
living life. Like, there is this old movie from the 80s that's called They Live. I don't know.
They leave.
Yeah, like
Okay. Leave.
from life, live
Yep.
to live, they
Yep.
live.
Mm,
And oh, this movie is so great. It's about this guy that works as a how you call that, these people who put the bricks on the buildings for
bricklayer.
big.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was working there, and one day he sees a weird scene of some people getting killed in a church.
Mm,
And he's curious, so he gets in the church and he sees that there were sunglasses, and he was like, why were those people killed because of some sunglasses? So he steals a pair before the police comes back, because it was the police that did that. And that's
mm,
important. And so everything is in color, of
mm,
course. But then he puts on the sunglasses and he sees everything in black and white.
mm,
And the magazines, instead of seeing like the normal pictures, colorful pictures of the magazines, he sees like white papers with subliminal messages like
mm.
obey, comply, consume,
Oh, yeah.
lust, things like that. And he was like, what the fuck? And he looks around him and he sees the billboards as well, like have children, or I don't know, don't believe in God or believe in God,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
narrative. And then he looks at someone, and that someone didn't look like a human, it looked like a monster. And he was
Mm,
like, what the? And so basically, those sunglasses were allowed you to see beyond the matrix and to see all the manipulation. And
mm-hmm.
it was a resistance movement that wanted to tell the whole world that there were aliens, having hostage, taking the earth hostage.
Mm-hmm.
And they had I don't want to disclose more, but
Yeah.
it's very
You don't want to give it up.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting movie.
Mm,
It shows drones in the
mm.
80s.
Oh,
What?
that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, and the I think the name of the director was something Carpenter, and he
Okay.
normally does horror movies. So
Okay.
I don't know if he said this because he really means it, or because it's controversy for the marketing of the movie. But he was like, "This is not fiction. This is a documentary," and you're like, "Oh my God." Yeah.
Well, I
So
mean, there's some truth to that, definitely.
yeah,
You know, the irony is it's like it's right in our face. It's not necessarily that it's subliminal, although it kind of is, but like a lot of it is just right in your face and it's very just blatant
yeah. I
grooming,
think it's
if you
becoming
will.
more and more blatant
Hmm.
every time. And
Hmm.
like,
Well, it's hard to cover it up anymore, right? With social media, with the internet, with all of that, it's like at a, it was easy to cover up whenever no one could find anything. You can't search and
yeah.
look for stuff, and things didn't, get out into the public easily. But like
Mhm.
now that things get out into the public with just like an accident, whoops, sorry, that clip got out or this paper got out or whatever happens, like
Mm.
that, how do you cover up multiple layers of that? Now, Now, a lot of people believe that it's going to be covered up from AI. Oh, it was AI. AI accidentally made that video, or AI did this or did it. Anyway, okay.
Nah, I mean, yeah, it could be an excuse, and there are many, many stupid
Right.
excuses they make. But
Right.
I think the only thing they are left really, and I think somehow they always only had that, is just that now information is spread so much quicker,
Hmm.
and more people can access the truth. But I think the only thing they have to cover up things is this psychological hostage that they have taken on many, many people with all the things that have happened in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
The drama that we went
Yes.
through, and
Yes. The world. Hmm.
yeah, and that whole, let's call it, narrative,
Hmm.
to for not use and more
It was a
blatant.
narrative. You
Yeah,
don't have to
let's
say
call
let's
it.
call it. It was a narrative.
Yeah, it was
Of course it
but I
was.
want like a show. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't want to say the word show,
Hmm.
like a lie,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah. And
It
and
was
many people,
definitely a narrative.
yeah, and many people got caught up in that narrative. And ironically, the people who most fell for it are the most unhealthy,
Mm.
sometimes overweight people. I've seen many people like super afraid of these microscopical thing
Mm.
that was spread somehow. It doesn't matter, and they smoke, and it's like,
Mm.
how,
How do
I
you?
mean, like, you
How does that
smoke
make
and
sense?
you're afraid of me coughing
Hmm.
next to you, like, the fuck.
Hmm.
You don't take care of yourself, and you see the thing.
Yep.
And it's those people who after 4 years they still don't see it, and they still believe like that was exactly as they were told.
Well, communists call
that's
those
that's
people useful idiots. That's what communists
yeah,
call those people.
yeah,
Co-
exactly.
And the reason that they call them that is because Adolf Hitler was actually the one who said, if you say a lie big enough, loud enough, and long enough, people will believe it.
Yeah.
If you, the masses are typically the ones that will fall for that kind of thing. And unless you question it, unless
Mm-hmm.
you question it actively, and you wonder, is this thing actually true? And then you do some level of actually looking into,
Mm-hmm.
then all you're doing is trusting the word of some
Someone.
government, of a person, whatever. That's all you're doing, is just trusting the word.
And it's
But
funny because you tell people, you talk with people about government, and
mm,
everybody tells you, no, government, we cannot trust the government,
mm,
blah, blah, blah. Then in that time, government went out to say, do this specific particular thing,
mm,
medical thing that you have to do. And everybody went and did it,
mm-hmm, and listened.
running like,
Mm-hmm,
and I was like, but where was your don't trust the government?
yeah,
Like, excuse me. I don't know. That's why it's easier to talk than to actually bother
yeah,
doing the hard
doing the
thing.
work, like actually trying to think contrary to what's being said.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
ever read? Are you a reader?
Yeah, I used to read a lot when I
Mm,
was younger. Now I
mm,
don't have much time,
mm.
sadly, but I love books. I love them.
You might enjoy George Orwell's book 1984.
Oh, I had a friend at the school that told me the whole story of
Mm,
it.
hmm.
And he was like, do you really want me to spoil you? Like, it's a very sad ending. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, if it's a very sad ending, do spoil it. So he went ahead and told me the end, and it's heartbreaking
Yeah,
at
yeah, it
the
is.
end.
Mm,
The good thing about science fiction, because they like to, this narrative of, it's all about fear. When it's fear, even if it's in the awakened side, let's call it, if there is fear, I don't think you are really awakened, because the
mm.
you are awakened, there's no fear anymore. You understand there's something, that all of this is like a big theater, the
Mm.
theater of humanity, and we are all playing roles in here. And the cosmic truth, it's something far bigger than and
Yeah,
greater,
something not many of us can understand.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And but there's this fear of science fiction, like a sort of a predictive
Mm.
premonitional thing.
Mm.
And truly, the writers who created science fiction, they were really talking about their times,
Yeah,
but in a enhanced way because it's fiction.
exaggerated. Mhm.
Exactly, like Jules Verne, when he wrote A Thousand Leagues Under the Sea, there were already experiments for submarines. It's not that he came with this idea from thin air.
Mhm.
There were already experiments. He just took the measurements he found in the books and multiplied them by 10, by whatever, to create this giant ship that's the
Mhm.
Nautilus. And Ray Bradbury, when he wrote Fahrenheit 451, that's
Mm.
the temperature when the paper burns,
Mm. Really?
takes fire and burn. That's
I
why
didn't realize that. Mhm.
yeah, it's because the book is about a fireman
Mhm.
who, in the future, whose job is actually to burn books, not houses.
Oh,
Like,
I've heard of the
and
book. I never knew the plot of it.
yeah, no, I totally recommend that book,
Mm.
Fahrenheit 451,
Mhm.
amazing book by Ray Bradbury. He grew up in the 50s, and what was happening in the 50s, you had the end of the Second World War. You
Mhm.
were very into the Cold War, right?
Mm.
And there was a lot of censorship, like Hitler burned a lot of books, and he was
Mhm.
not the only one. Many people censored and burned a lot of books. And there was also the television, and everyone was glued to the
Yep.
television. And so he saw the television, and in the book, people live in houses where 3 walls out of 4 are just screen, like
Mm.
huge screens, all
Mhm.
screen, and they were looking at the screen 24/7,
Mhm.
every day, every time, every moment.
Mhm.
And he was, and now we see, oh, he did a prediction, right? We
Mhm.
have so many screens, like the laptop, the phone,
Phone, yep.
etc.
Mhm.
He was talking about the television, about,
Right.
he was criticizing his times. It's just that it's still um relatable, right? Still
Mhm.
relevant for
Mhm.
us today. But distractions, we've always had distractions. Now it's just the nature of them that change. And so there is this like also programming that I saw with modern science fiction, like the fifth wave, for example,
Mhm.
that is very dystopic, very distressful, like you feel distressed when you read those books.
Mhm.
And the fifth wave is kind of funny because there's also this, it starts with this lethal pandemic that erases half of the population, so it's kind of a programming inside people. It has become a programming. First you make them believe the classical authors were trying to predict the future, and then you suggest that future in books, and then people read those books, that idea gets in their subconscious mind, and then you do it in real life, and people like, oh my god, like you already prepare them in their minds
Mhm.
to that reality. So that's why I don't like modern science
Mhm.
fiction much.
Yeah.
To this, I don't know, it's like, is this distressful, distressing,
Mhm.
I don't know how, is this the word that feels, it leaves you with a really bad feeling, like
Feeling. Yep.
when you read, for example, Aldous Huxley Brave New World, it
I was
also
gonna mention that one too.
that
Yes.
one, please go ahead.
No, that's another great one. I was gonna mention that on top of George Orwell's book. But
Yeah,
go.
that one I did read, and that one also ends badly, and of
Mhm.
course you are like sad, but it doesn't leave you with this distress inside
Mm-mm.
you, like shaking like that. It's more like, oh, we need to do something. Like, I don't want to be
Hmm.
that person. Like, mm, I identify so much with this character that read Shakespeare and no one knew about
No one
Shakespeare
understood. Yeah.
anymore. Exactly, and he was completely alone in that. So
Isolated. Hmm.
yeah, and those are the topics really. The other thing is an excuse, like this isolation in consumism and superficiality, and
Mm.
no one has culture anymore, and you feel like an alien, like you
Mm.
are the alien.
Hmm.
And
Because you're trying
and
to do something deeper and think deeper and be deeper, and everyone else is just like surface level.
mhm,
Just stay
mhm.
surface level.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and rather than feeling, yeah, distressed and with a blinding fear that
Mm.
is setting down in your head, you are like, oh, now I understand how the world works. Okay, what can I do now? If it's like that,
Mm.
it's not. At least I felt it that way. Like makes you think so different.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Catherine, we didn't talk about music at all, um,
So
which is great. This was a great conversation. I'm so glad we got to talk about things that it sounds like you're still very passionate about, nutrition and reading and helping
yeah.
people. Definitely. So I maybe we can do it again and we'll actually talk about music, but I'm sure you get to talk about music all the time anyway. So it's nice to have a different kind of conversation.
It's my main passion, so I don't mind talking about that
Yeah,
or
yeah,
any topic.
yeah,
Really, I love conversation.
yeah. Well, that's great. Um, Catherine, where do people find you so that they can see more of your work?
So they can find me on YouTube, on Instagram, Twitter, mainly, as Catherin Gairard. This is the same name everywhere, Catherine, and then the last name is Gairard. And yeah, that's where they can find me, see my music videos, my funny video soundtracks that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, some of them were good. I saw one of you dog sledding. It's a little the video was pretty old. Not I mean maybe a couple months or something like that. But do you dog sled?
That was an experience that I did
Okay.
like last year, like in Canada. I had the chance to go to Vancouver, and I
Okay.
went to Whistler.
Yep.
It's like a village,
Hmm.
like a couple hours away, and I did that experience, and it was super fun, and with the dogs and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
but now I started to do small, long form videos, like micro movies, because I'm studying to become a movie soundtrack composer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as an excuse for practicing, I am doing those mini movies with relatable topics. Like the first one was When You Hate Valentine's Day, and it's like a horror comedy type of thing. And
Hmm.
that's just for me to practice doing the real thing is doing soundtracks and make people laugh. And so
Hmm.
that's like what I'm doing right now.
Very nice. Well, good luck in all that. I'm 100% certain that you'll be successful considering the passion that it sounds like you put behind everything you do.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.